Day 3 of the Disney Moon, Brian, was spent at Disney's Hollywood Studios. This is a park that is themed after the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s golden era of Hollywood, as well as some of the more live action type movie properties that Disney has. It's very interestingly themed. It's themed after a couple of areas in California: Hollywood, Beverly Hills, Sunset Boulevard, that kind of area. Right now, the park is sort of in flux. There's a lot of construction happening on the park. Some rides have closed down, some areas have been closed. They're working on two brand new areas, one that is themed after Toy Story called Toy Story Land, and one that is themed after Star Wars, both slated to open in the next few years. So right now it's sort of a park in transition, and it feels like there's not as much to do as there used to be and as there will be in the future. Based on this trip, it seemed like it was the park that had the least going on out of all four, not only in general, but especially the least going on that we were interested in. There are some really, really great things about it. One of my favorite rides overall was the Tower of Terror ride, which you can see here. It is gorgeously themed. It's a spooky hotel looking thing. I mean, it's just wonderful theming, wonderful design and decoration. It's one of their classic rides, and it's really, really fun and spooky. Right now, it seems like a lot of the things going on that are there are based around Star Wars. Disney has bought Star Wars, and Star Wars is sort of experiencing a renaissance right now because of the new movies. So there's a whole new generation of Star Wars fans. So with such little happening in general in Hollywood studios, it seems like they are maximizing as much Star Wars stuff as they can do. There's an area that has a couple Star Wars rides. They've got a couple stage shows that happen throughout the day, as well as parades of stormtroopers and other First Order people like Captain Phasma and Kylo Ren and Darth Vader parading around at times throughout the park. So it just seems like they're really, emphasizing the Star Wars aspect, which is great. There's a lot of really fun lore and a lot of really cool things to do related to Star Wars. However, as far as rides, there were only really 3 rides at Hollywood Studios that were rides, things that you get on and move, and then a couple other experiences where you go and sit, like simulations and things. There were a couple really neat things. There was a couple other, sort of, not really stage shows, but experiences where you go sit and watch a thing happen, watch a movie or watch a show or a production. It's sort of hard to classify, but there was definitely some stuff like that. And we stayed busy for most of the day, although we did end up taking a break at one point, heading home, napping for an hour or two, and then coming back later in the evening to catch the evening things. But that's not to say we didn't have a great time while we were there, but it just, like I said before, right now it's kind of a park in flux and there's less going on. That being said, the things that were going on that we did do were awesome. All the Star Wars stuff was wicked cool. The shows were really, really well done. The acting and all of that was really cool. Some of the design aspects, like the pyrotechnics and the other things involved in the show, were really impressive. It was really cool to have, you'd be walking down an aisle and all of a sudden sort of a squadron of stormtroopers comes marching through, all ominous and creepy looking. Like I said before, the Tower of Terror is a fantastic ride. We rode it twice, and it's just a really cool thing. And the overall theming of Hollywood Studios is really cool too. How it's built off of classic vintage Hollywood aesthetic and style is really cool. There's people that mill about that work there that are dressed in period clothes of what people that were alive in the golden age of Hollywood would have worn, and they walk around and talk in character and interact with the crowd in character and stuff like that. There's a lot specifically about Walt Disney himself and the animation and the things that started the Walt Disney Company, and sort of the old classic stuff involved with Walt Disney, how he got started, this first animations he did, that kind of thing. So that was really cool to see. You can see Little Mermaid in the background, which is another cool thing they've got there. They do have this one of their newest rides is a Toy Story ride, and this was one of my favorite rides in the whole, overall, the whole parks, all 4 of them. It's a sort of a dark room ride where you are in a cart and you go through an indoor area with different areas, but it's based off of Midway games, like, dart toss a ring around a bottle, that kind of thing, but it's all done in this really cool, virtual reality way, and it was just fascinating. Some of the most impressive technology anywhere in any of the parks. fireworks, and was just a ton of fun. One of the coolest parts about this was the nighttime shows. They've got all of the neat vintage looking neon lights around the main area on Sunset Boulevard, or on Hollywood Boulevard, excuse me, as well as they use a model of the Chinese Theater, which is a famous theater in Hollywood, as sort of the centerpiece for their evening show. Now, like what happened in Magic Kingdom, this is sort of a cross between projections and fireworks. However, this is much more projection heavy. It goes through a bunch of different things. You saw some Guardians of the Galaxy there, here's some Star Wars. They've got pyrotechnics and fireworks involved as well as a laser show. So it was really, really cool and really, really fun to be there. The evening fireworks is definitely Star Wars themed. And as someone who's a fan of all of the movies, I mean, it definitely, made you choke up a little bit because it drove on all of that fun feelings of nostalgia and the positive memories you have of the Star Wars movies and that whole universe. So it was really well done. There's a lot to like about Hollywood Studios, definitely, and I had a great time there, and it grew on me the longer we spent there and the more time I spent thinking about it after we left. All in all, it's definitely a park I would recommend going to and spending a day at. There's a lot to be had there, but I'm also really excited to see what they add to it in the future and where it goes.